right, baby. It is officially that time. I am tremendously pumped up for tonight's show. And it's the beginning of the season, you guys. So we don't have any time to waste. We got to get right into tonight's content because we got a guest that probably most of you can't afford if you wanted her one-on-one. I know I can't afford her. We got her tonight, and she's going to give us some nuggets that's going to take you into this season. Make sure you rock. But first and foremost, if you're joining us for the first time, I'm your host, Coach Wood. This is the Locker Room Show. My guy to the right with the shades, that's none other than the Guru. What's going on, Guru?
Hey, man, look. We about to lace it up. It's about to go down. Well, I'm going to say it. I said it last week. Man, week one, but we got wars from top to bottom. We're going to talk about that later, but good Lord, man. It's like we got about 8 to 10 bowl games first week. So, yeah, it's going to be hot.
Which brings some pressure, and that's good because we got the right person to talk to when it comes to handling some pressure. So let me stop burying the lead. The beautiful woman that you see in the middle of the screen is none other, you guys, than the great Dr. Erin Shannon. We've had her on before. There's few people that we let come on the Locker Room show more than once. This was a no-brainer, especially kicking off the season. She is the daughter of the great Mike Shannon, Cardinals legend, you guys, sports psychologist, energy, philosopher, practitioner. She's worked with some of your favorite football players. So we're going to get some nuggets tonight, and I can't wait to get it straight from the great Dr. Erin Shannon. How's it going, Doc?
I need my kids to start calling me the great anything, right?
You like that?
I do like it, but it's not something I hear every day, that's for sure. I'm good. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me on.
Definitely.
We're doing great, and we're pumped up to have you. I know how much you care about athletes' mental health, and a lot of times we overspend on the physical attributes, to be great, but we're not thinking between the ears. So thank you for coming on tonight.
My pleasure.
Yes, indeed. So let's get into it, you guys. Once again, the great Dr. Erin Shannon. We're going to get her kids to start calling her that. She's worked with many of the people that you guys watch on Sundays, Saturdays, different sports. Guys like Myles Garrett, you guys. There's guys like Lauren Knight. You guys know Aaron Donald. She knows them all, you guys. And sometimes there's success in people that help success that you guys don't get to know. So tonight, you guys are getting a chance to meet Dr. Shannon, and I'm pumped up. And like I said, the daughter of the great Mike Shannon, who obviously was big time with St. Louis, and Q knows that, and the Cardinals. So we're pumped up, you guys, and I see some people already coming in. The great Ramo here, ready to go. And then, of course, we got the great Coach Foss out of Northeast Alabama, Huntsville. It's football time, Coach, and it's good to see you. So let's get into it, Doc, and stop playing around. I mean, the first thing that we have is realizing the void. And I wanted to ask you, obviously, your dad was in the home. He was an athlete. You were an athlete. But when did the light bulb come on that there needed to be more mental support for these athletes, for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I always grew up looking at athletes as people first, just because that was my norm. That was just my everyday. But from the beginning, my dad and my mom, both athletes, taught all of us that if your mind isn't right, I don't care how fast you are, how big you are, how talented you are. If you don't have the right mindset and you don't keep on that, you're not going anywhere. You're going to top out where your physicality leaves you. And everybody at each level is great physically. They're perfect specimens, they're freaks, and they've got all the best people helping them. What I think the 1,000% difference is when you've got people that can help keep people at that 110% category mentally. And that's on the field and off the field. You can't, really separate. and you can't separate the mind and the body. And I think we're starting to realize that more and more. But the guys that really train their brain, they're the ones that stay in the game longer at a higher level.
Wow, that's amazing. And then you being an athlete yourself, you know, you can affiliate with what they're going through a lot of the time. So thank you for sharing that. If you're joining us for the first time, we keep all the topics on the bottom ticker so you guys know exactly what we're about to get into. And tonight is going to be huge for many of you. I really wanted to get into this with you, Doc, because these athletes, especially the ones we reach, these football players, a lot of them are alpha males. They're looked at as the warriors for their household. And there's people that have to support these people, you know, their husbands, their girlfriends, their parents. And I wanted to read this right here. This was a young man who passed away, very talented, committed suicide, Kenny, and this is his father talking, and he says, young parents, start talking to your kids at a very early age and make sure they are confident and comfortable confiding in you. Don't be cool with I'm all right or I'm good when you know deep down something's not right. Mental health is real, and for the most part, it's invisible. Don't ignore the signs, even if they are small. And then obviously it goes on right here. This young man is blessed, just got a contract with the Bears. And I love his game. And they just gave him a $10 million contract. But he was crying, Q, because his parents have financial issues. And now he feels like he's going to be able to help out with that. So I wanted to ask you, Doc, and then I'll get to you, Q. How can family members support these men that have so much pressure placed on them on and off the field?
You know, I think a couple of real common sense things is that it's important for anybody, but especially for an athlete, maybe even when they've moved up to a new level, the level that makes an impact for their family, makes an impact for their community. It's very important that they understand that you see them for the man that they are before and after their playing career's over. And when you can look at them and say, you know, how are you doing? And they say, okay, I'm good, because of course that's what you're going to say. But, you know, you lean in and you say, no, like, how's your heart? Like, really, like, how are you? Tell me.
Okay.
Because to be a great athlete, you have a great heart. These are amazing human beings that, you know, tend to push themselves beyond the limits of what most people can comprehend, but they're still human beings with fears and concerns and pain. And, you know, giving them the safe space to talk about that, just to let the steam off a little bit, is everything.
Yeah. Q, talk to me. I mean, obviously there were times where there were lows at Kansas. I know you talked about your high school coach before. Would you lie to mom if she asked you, hey, how are you doing? Or would you break and tell her the truth?
I'm lying. I'm gonna lie. If it was my mom, it was always it's one of those things where, and especially, I mean, I feel like with contact sports, like, you know, like football, the boxers, you know, MMA fighters, it's like you're already looked at as like people actually forget that you're human, right? And they think that, you know, you're this invincible you're this invincible thing or invincible person that that doesn't have feelings or issues like normal people, right? So you know, which is absolutely terrible, but it's one of those things where man, you have to be able to open up, man, in some type of way, because it's just like, see, like, you know, that's exactly what Junior was like. I'm sure if you asked Junior Seau before we knew everything what was going on with Junior, he would have told you, I'm fine, and look what happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the nature, especially with football players. That's what we are. It's like we don't feel pain, like we're human, but we're not. You know, so it's unfortunate that we're looked at that way, but that's the truth.
Well, that's I think that's why this young man got so emotional, you know, because he's been having this pent up. I mean, Doc, tell me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong. For him to let go like that, especially in public, that's probably been pent up, right?
Sure. And, in any elite performing activity, every day is an interview. Every day you are fighting for your job. And unfortunately, the way that media coverage is and, just the popular culture, we tend to look at people and try to tear them down, try to find something wrong with them, which is a shame. But, when you walk around carrying the world on your shoulders, carrying much more than just what you're going to see out there on the field or on your ESPN highlights, if you don't let the steam off, if you don't have a place to take that off your shoulders and put it down for a minute, you can't recover and you can't go on. Sooner or later, it's going to catch up with you. I think we know, at this point that when we push stuff down, when we push emotions down and like you said, compartmentalize it, right? Like you got to take stuff over here when you go on the field and then push that over, and we can pick that up when we come back off the field. But if there's stuff that you're pushing down day in and day out and never looking at it, sooner or later, that's going to come out somewhere, and usually the worst way, and either cause you to get sick, give you an injury, or cause some kind of an incident. And it's really important that guys are better with their mental hygiene, that they're cleaning that stuff out, not letting it just store up and just boil.
Q, is that on the athlete, or is that on the staff in the building, or is that on the athlete support team? Who is that on to notice that something may be off?
I would say all three. More maybe a little bit more emphasis on the athlete. Because you're at some point in time, you're going to have to set your pride aside and open up and talk to someone. I feel like too, as we see a lot with football players or whatnot, man, is off the field issues in regards to assaults, domestic violence, incidents where that's stuff that could be pinned up. That's misguided anger. And and now all of a sudden, man, you landing yourself in an orange jumpsuit and have your career in jeopardy.
Yeah, I don't think people really understand what we're asking these guys to do. We're asking them to go down a tunnel and put on a mindset that most people can't even imagine, and be not just aggressive, but be, deadly killers in a way.
Barbaric, yeah.
Right. You become something else. And, that's something else that you become is your bread and butter. And it's also you staying off of a stretcher, because if you can't bring it, the guy across from you is bringing it. So we expect people to come then off that field and, even at the drop of a dime, giving a sideline interview during the game, which blows my mind. But we ask them come off the field and now be a good dad, be a good father, be a good husband, be good with the media, go do your charity, go. And they've got to turn it on and off like this. And we see the same kind of issues that come up with soldiers and with other people that have to take it, anybody that works in, the defense industry. You got to go from one mindset to another at the drop of a dime. It's very unnatural. And if you don't come to peace with the different pieces of yourself, sooner or later, they're going to get jumbled up. And then you add in some, brain injuries and other stuff and all the pressure that you're dealing with. It's a miracle it doesn't happen more. But what's not okay is that we don't have all of the things in place, all of the support systems and the safety net that these guys can go and get the help they need from people that are not going to then go and tell the coach, oh, this guy, I don't know how he's feeling about this. Or they have to be safe enough to let go and let down. I was always very clear. If I was embedded in an organization or with a team, I was very clear. I want my office here. And guess what? Anybody that comes in and out of my office, they don't exist. I don't care who's paying me. I don't care if you're the GM. I don't care if you're the owner, you're the head coach. No, if there's something you need to know, I'm going to make sure that player comes and tells you, but you will never, ever have it from me, because it would be I'd be a wasted space. They had to feel like.
Do you think that was because of your athletic background, or do you think that, okay.
I think that was,
or your
I certainly
dad
wasn't taught that. Yeah, I certainly wasn't taught that, but in school, but I was taught growing up, and I saw very clearly that, you know, if what happens in the locker room stays in the locker room, which even now that doesn't happen because we've got all kinds of people in and out of, there's got to be a safe space where people can let their insecurities, their fears, their anger, things that they're never going to say anywhere else. You've got to let that out somewhere, and you've got to know that that's going to stay in that room. And it's a difficult situation because, you know, it's a little tricky. Who owns that information, right? And I always did everything I could to set up the safeguards. And I had to explain to the head coach, to the GM, to the owner, if you want me to help you win, you have to trust that this space is going to do that. You know, fire me the day after, you know, I'm not doing it. But if you put me in this position, give me the tools I need. And the tools that I need are to be able to protect the privacy and security of my guys. And, you know, it's a big ask, I think, because it's not something that is normalized in the culture. A lot of teams will have someone there that's a player personnel rep, but there's not that security. Like even the doctors, when they're there, the doctors have to report. So it really is this kind of gaping hole that needs to be filled. And I will tell you that it's all the difference in the world for organizations that allow that to be utilized. And it should be mandatory.
Yeah. Oh, so you think there's a big split between organizations that support?
I think there is a service that athletes access that do not bleed into, or they cannot be punished for. We need to start looking at mental health and wellness as, you know, a right that you have, not something's wrong with you if you go into this office. In many ways, when the head guys would come into my office and the other players knew that they were coming in or they mentioned it, all of a sudden everybody else the best that there is. So maybe instead of thinking something's wrong with me when I go in here, maybe something's right about it. Maybe there's an edge we're getting. And of course, we're always going for that. That's the point. But if there's a gaping hole somewhere, we're going to fix that before we can get to that edge. Right. And you can do both simultaneously.
No, that's great right there, you guys. And I see some people coming in. The great Andy Peak, one of my former teammates, says great stuff right here. We see the great Coach Hughes coming in saying trust issues. A lot of guys like Dr. Shannon is saying that they don't believe that what they're saying is going to get kept between them and the doctor. We've got someone coming in. Unfortunately, I don't know Chinese or Japanese, but thank you for joining us. Good evening, everyone, they say. So thank you for joining us there. No, that's perfect right there, Doc. Thank you for sharing that. Q, talk to me a little bit. We're going to go to our next topic. And this one, I wanted to start with you, man. Paying for peak performance.
Right.
Paying performance. So obviously there's some sacrifice, man. This is a competitive sport. If you get to the top of this game, whether it's college or pro, you're going to have to pay a sacrifice. The great Jerry Rice used to not tell people some of his workout tips and things of that. We all know with this man, what he was like as a competitor. So let me ask you, Q, can you be at the top of college football or the NFL and be buddy with the other guys on the depth chart at your position?
I wouldn't say buddy because it's a job, right? Even on the collegiate level, it's a job because money's involved, so it's a job, right? As far as like paying for peak performance, I mean, I put it like this: in a name, look at LeBron and what he's invested in his body, and that's why he's been able to do it that long, right? So I mean, that's just an absolute must. The more that you invest in your body, man, the more you, I mean, as far as recovery, injury prevention, mental stability, but working with a great sports psychologist like Doc, I mean, you're giving yourself a chance to prolong your career. Prolonged career means more money, and that's always going to be beneficial to you and your family in the long run.
All right. So you feeling like maybe not buddy, but you can be cordial with the other receiver. You're the number one
Absolutely.
guy. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah,
All right.
you could be cordial. I mean, but it's a job, man. It's a job, especially when you're going from college to the league, because it's one of those things now. I mean, these guys got, got kids, got, car notes, house notes, baby mama, side chicks. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being real. Like, it's a different ball game on that level for sure. So it's like, man, like, nah, you can't be cordial. I mean, we all on the same page. We're all trying to get in the playoffs, get these playoff checks. We're all going for, a Super Bowl if at all possible. So, yeah, to that extent, yeah, man, we are, same team. But internally, it's like, nah, man, I gotta get this clock and get this check.
Okay. All right. Doc, talk to me a little bit about when maybe a family or an athlete should think about getting services like yours. Like, is it a time thing, like where they're of a certain age? Is it a level of performance thing where now you're on TV and we should get a sports psychologist, someone that you can talk to? How should a family evaluate that?
Well, I think in general, if a family or loved ones or coaches notice a change in an athlete, then it's really important to address that and make sure to do the check-ins and make sure that things are fine, and normalize going to see somebody to chat about things. I mean, nowadays you can talk online with people. You don't even have to leave the house anymore, right? So we've made the access better, but it's about culturally normalizing it. Now, when you talk about the other side of the coin and you're talking about performance optimization, right, and going to another level, that you want to train and hone your brain to be as dialed in as the rest of your body, along with all of your training, I do think that there should be less pressure on young kids, and I think young kids should enjoy sports for as long as they possibly can. I think now that with the NIL money that we really have now, almost this new league, right? That's for professional league. And so the amount of time we get to enjoy just purely playing sports and having fun is compressed even more. And I see so many parents, and I talk to my guys that are retired players, and they're like, you won't believe these parents are bringing these 6, 7, 8-year-old little kids to me and saying, here, I'll pay you all this money to make this kid, I want him to go to the NFL. He's 7. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's ridiculous. And to expect a child to, perform and not just be a child is just a recipe for disaster for the family, for the child and the child's mind and body. So, I'm big at being well-rounded and being able to be just a kid for as long as you can. But once you get into that level of performance where you are maybe topping out at your body, being able to get much better, or you're looking to optimize kind of the untapped area, I really think that the mental optimization space is such a huge untapped market. We're barely getting into that. Everybody's got great nutrition, great workout, great recovery, state of the art, everything. But do they have that same thing with their brain? And if they don't, then you're kind of, it's, wasting money if you're not optimizing that as well. So that's kind of my take on both the mental illness and the mental wellness part of sport.
But if you think about it though, Doc, think about regardless of sport, that's what separates so many really good athletes and the legends and the great athletes.
Right.
Because
that's right.
When you look at Jordan, it was all that physical ability, but it was mentally. I'll give you an example. For those of you, especially you young people that never had an opportunity to actually see Michael Jordan play, almost every season in the 90s, you would see the New York Knicks get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they had to see Jordan. And you're talking about guys like Patrick Ewing, John Stockton. I mean, these are Hall of Fame guys. Right, exactly. But the problem was mentally they knew I cannot beat this man. So and it came a pattern because Michael Jordan beat people before they ever stepped out on the court. It was over. The same thing with Ali, the same thing with Ronaldo, the same thing with Messi and Jerry Rice. But these names that I'm saying, these are legends. They're not really good players in their respective sports. These are some of the best that ever lived, and their mental aspect was light years ahead of the competition in addition to the physical ability. Mentally, it was over. That's why, pardon my friends, that's why Ali talks shit. That's why he did it. It was to beat you here. Before we even taped our gloves up, it's already over. I don't even need to throw a punch. Because I have you in your feelings, and you're gonna start boxing with anger. And everybody knows with boxing, even in that sport, if you fight with, it's chess. But if you come in with anger, you're gonna be susceptible to lose because that's the way it's mental.
That's right. And I am a huge believer in that razor's edge, right? Between, you've got to play with emotion, but if you let your emotion play you, it's over before it begins. And just like you said, a person's aura, a person's mental prowess and the psychological game, I can't tell you how many games I have seen, and you can call it. You can look at somebody and you can see how they're affecting their team, and you can watch the other team come out and you can say, it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
And then you can watch the same thing. I love, I do the best I can to get out and back so I can see the teams come out of their locker rooms at halftime. That is everything to me. It tells me who I got to work on for what, but it also tells me where's my weak points here. You can smell blood in the water, right? And for the other team. And so, those are the kind of things that your energy before you step onto that field, you better get that right. Because if there is enough of the people on a certain team that have their energy right, I don't care physically, I don't care what else is going on.
You can't beat them.
Beat them.
You can't beat them. You can't.
That's why coaches get worried at practice when they feel the energy is off.
Well, think about it like this.
Like it's like a general.
Think about it like this. Think about it like this, folks. If what this woman is saying is not true, go back in YouTube. Tom Brady engineered one of the greatest comebacks of all time, and he's probably one of the least gifted quarterbacks we've ever seen. The boy had listen, Tom Brady had a wet noodle for an arm and ran a 4.8, but you could not mentally beat him. Period. One of the best comebacks ever. If you would, people probably bet their mortgage on that Falcons game, and they're homeless now. Because you couldn't beat them.
And like you say, though, if it was all physical, if it was all in the numbers, then why are teams hiring people like me to go to combines and look
Facts.
at things other than numbers. Because guess what? The numbers tell you numbers.
Yeah.
But find me one of the greatest of any sport and show me their numbers coming in. It isn't the physical specimen of the person. It isn't the height. It isn't the jump. All those things are extraordinarily important. But how many phenoms have we seen at a combine or at a first round draft pick that no one has any idea where that person is, right?
Yeah.
There are things that you cannot measure. And if you don't see that and you don't understand that, you better hire somebody that can.
I love it. There you
Well,
go.
hold on. I got one more question. I got one more question though. So, Doc, out of the teams that you've worked with, right, all the guys, that being said, what percentage is quarterbacks?
Oh, I mean, if I'm working with a team, many times I'm working with a quarterback, but I will tell you that there, like any sport, every position's got a different vibe, right? Every guy in the position's got a different vibe. The quarterbacks are different animals just in general.
Right.
There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen with quarterbacks. Lots of quarterback gurus out there. Everybody wants to be a guru.
Okay. I got you. I guess what I kind of really meant, I don't want to interrupt, but I guess what I kind of really wanted to ask is, do you, as far as guys coming in, say, for example, like on a more intimate setting, one-on-one, psychologically trying to get themselves together and up their game, I meant that really worded, do you see quarterbacks more often or quarterbacks more willing because they're quarterbacks or because they're
or is it less often because they usually got
or less often, right? Exactly. Exactly.
I think a lot of times for them, there is so much mental work that goes into just getting plays in and then taking them out and getting them in and taking them out. A lot of times the first touch point or two might be helping with certain things like that or getting their sleep better because, that is such an amazingly taxing mental position that a lot of times it's almost, halfway through the season until they even contemplate, what am I feeling? It's like, what am I thinking? And am I getting this right? And especially the new guys. I mean, onboarding a new system. Ooh, it is. Anybody that thinks athletes are dumb,
they really do.
Oh my Lord, sit in on one of these meetings. I'm telling you, my mind is like, wait, what does that mean? It's amazing the amount of mental work it takes. And then you add on the physical work. I don't think people have a clue of what the day in and day out grind is of even college athletes at this point. Those poor kids got to be going to school too.
Yeah.
That's great right there, you guys. Peak performance, there's a lot of layers to it, you guys. And I know many of you are searching for that. This woman helps some of the best reach their peak performance. So thank you for sharing that, Doc. And thank you for joining us. If you're just getting on the show, you guys, I'm your host, Coach Wood. You got the guru. This is the Locker Room Show. This is where we bring the sauce. This is where we bring in the best of the best in the football industry. And tonight we have the great Dr. Erin Shannon, who helps out so many athletes, you guys, and she's giving us some sauce tonight for sure. This next one I want to get into, and I'll start with you, Guru, because Doc just mentioned, all of the task and all of the requirements to be a top-notch student athlete or professional athlete, and it requires a lot. You know that. Do these guys really have time, man, to craft who they're going to be in the future when they're in such a thick competition battle to be the best they can be now?
Absolutely. I mean, man, you have to be, especially at this day and age, man, coming in with a plan, post football. as we know, man, the nature of this game, it's always one injury away. That's just the nature of the game. So, so like you say, you just, showed a picture of Michael Strahan. It's, even though you're doing something that you love, it's trying to figure out what's that next thing. It's always, it's just because you're great on the gridiron. It's, well, what else can I be great at? And that's one thing that I always find awesome, is seeing great athletes that always figured out a way to redefine themselves, whatever that might be. I often use the example of George Foreman. Like, for Christ's sake, the man made more money off of grills than he ever did in boxing, ever, right? Because he redefined himself. So you go from fighting, Ken Norton and Ali. Now you're doing a show with Martha Stewart selling grills and make, $1 billion, right? Because he redefined himself. So I always, thought that's always great to see guys be able to do that.
Now, that's amazing right there, Q, and a great example. A lot of guys are making more money off the field nowadays than they are on the field. Doc, talk to me about what you saw with your dad, because he went from being a dynamite player, and of course there's leverage there, but not everybody's going to become the voice of the team just because they played for the team. When did he start to think about life after baseball?
It's a good question. His career ended early because he got a rare kidney disease. And so, it was winning the World Series and having your best season yet at, 27 or whatever, to going to spring training and being told you got about 6 weeks to live, and,
Wow.
You've got a wife and 5 little kids. And, my dad, being my dad, was like, well, you're wrong and I'm not dying. So, what are we going to do about it? And, basically lock the door and threaten the doctor to figure something out, because one of them's walking out of there today and it's not going to be the doctor if he doesn't give him the right answer. So, my dad just tackled it like he did everything else. But, I think it's like we have a next man up mentality, but it's like next day, right? Okay, your career is going to come to an end sooner or later, most of the time sooner. Most people think about a career and they think, okay, they're doing something for decades. We're talking 4 years as a nice size career. Yeah. Now what? Now you're X amount of years old and you've got the rest of your life ahead of you, and that money's going to be gone much sooner than you ever imagined if you don't figure it out real quick. I think the league has done a real nice job of really incorporating programs for players that help them with that transition. And there's, academies where they go and they train to, become broadcasters, become, on the front side of things, going toward the business and marketing side of things. They're actually training them along the way. And this is something that the best agents and other people that work with top athletes kind of layer them with. But it's never going to ever come close to that feeling of being on a team, the camaraderie. And you have to address that too. You always have that. You always have that brotherhood and that family. But it's very different going from doing that every day, day in and day out, to now I'm at home and my wife is, ready to kill me because I'm, driving her nuts because she's been handling everything on her own. Yeah. So it's a huge shift, but I think that everyone should keep an identity outside of their profession. We are human beings, not human doings, right? And there's a part of you inside that is always going to be you, no matter what your job title is. So to develop that and become familiar with that is really important, and to have people outside of your teammates that knows that part of you. And, it's why guys do things like, play video games, or they eat the same meal every day, or they wear the same. They need some sense of normalcy outside of the craziness that is their day in and day out.
Now, that's a great point right there, Doc. And, Guys are starting to figure it out. I feel like a little bit sooner than maybe my generation, because they're talking about it, and there's shows like this where we try to talk to you guys about it. So that's good right there. We are on to our next topic, you guys, and we've got the great Dr. Erin Shannon with us. She came through in the clutch. She said, "I got you, boys," and she is on the show giving love, you guys, and really, really telling you things that you need to think about. And some of you family members, some of you caretakers of these athletes, let's not just look after the NIL money or how many points they scored, how many touchdowns. Let's make sure that these kids are mentally healthy as well. The season's kicking off. Some guys are going to get cut in the NFL, so there's a lot going on for these kids. I wanted to talk to you, Doc, about the flow state, because I've heard you talk about this in the past. I've heard you talk about how big the energy for these athletes are, kind of knowing yourself and being able to hit a green zone as an athlete. What exactly is a flow state? What do you think an athlete should be thinking mentally maybe before a game?
Yeah, I'm big on making it an individual thing. I think that, you can do the recommended things, but everybody's going to have their own style and their own way that it clicks easier. So just because a guy next to you is listening to music and then the guy next to him is, maybe he's saying a mantra and somebody else is, walking around pacing like a caged tiger. Everybody's got a system that they figure out. The great ones, though, make it a part of their daily routine. They don't just wait until the big game. They don't just wait until, the season starts. It's something that they train in and become very familiar with. It's why we practice things until exhaustion, because we don't want you to think out on the field. Don't think, just do. And you get that way by practicing until it becomes your second nature, your reaction. If you can focus on your mental state in the same way and get yourself to where you can get into that state in the snap of a finger, then that's going to be much more useful than just having a good mindset going into the game. You need a good mindset when you're in the worst of it. You need to figure out how to snap back into it. And that takes practice. Flow states are, this amazing mix of both focus, but also hyper awareness of the moment. So a lot of times we think focus is narrow, and with the flow state or being in the zone, it's like an expanded state of awareness where I can see the entire field. I can know what somebody's doing behind me. I can sense it before it happens. I can see a route. I can see where it's going to open up. And then you get the next level where I can make it open up. Now we're getting into the quantum side of things. And that's really fun for me. That's the stuff I love. When we can get into the, don't just be in the moment, be the moment, make it happen. That's always fun. But everybody has glimpses of the zone at different times in their life, but the greatest of the greats make it something that is at their command. My dad played with Bob Gibson, and he always would, he was a great storyteller and just a great man. I called him my Uncle Bob, but he talked about one year, and he was talking to me about this. I was pretty young, and that entire year he was in the zone. I think it was 68. And
67 or 68, one of those, yeah.
One of those, yeah. And I said, how is that? Like, I was in school, so I, was learning stuff about alpha states and different brain waves. And I'm like, Uncle Bob, I don't know about the whole year. He's like, the whole year, I'm telling you. And we talked a little bit more about it. And it's interesting because he can't remember a lot of stuff about it. And my dad was saying, yeah, he was different. Like, it was almost like he was just kind of floating off the ground all the time. Now, it's not necessarily a happy place to be, right? But it is a definite focus that you want to kind of jump in and jump out of. I think being in the zone for an entire year is the craziest thing I've ever heard from somebody that was like not a Tibetan monk that lives, on a mountaintop or something. And you see so many of these guys, especially, basketball, they brought in some pretty Zen gurus that really made a huge impact. And it started to catch on. And I think people can tell when someone's in the zone, but I don't think they think that they can get into the zone on command. I think people stumble into it. But as an athlete, if you want a great career, if you want to be one of the best, you have to make that a trainable state of mind.
Thanks.
That's amazing right there. And all of these athletes have their different routine. I felt like, and Q, you knew I was a quarterback in high school. I felt like when I was at the top of my game in high school, I would get glimpses the night before of what was going to happen the next day, and it would play out exactly. Right. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know it was a flow state, but I definitely, when I was at the top of my game, would get glimpses the night before. And I'd be like, oh, that felt the same, or I saw that. Q, did you have a routine when you were in college that you kept to every single game or no?
It was, I primarily would just, I would always, just like, it would always be like the far end zone opposite where we had to always go like to the far pylon. And I would just walk down there, stretch out. I had my music on. And I would just completely, like I would like, I'm a talkative dude. I can be. And it was like, like everybody kind of knew, like when I get quiet, like, all right, he's locked in. He's locked in. I know a while ago, I was looking at it here, I thought I had it on my bookcase. But if you guys get a chance, write this down. It's called The Rise of Superman by Stephen Kotler.
Right? Great book.
Great book.
I make my guys read it. Yeah.
For sure, dude. And what it is too, man. It's like you have like instances where a lot of that comes from like, guys like there were Navy SEALs or whatnot.
You said The Rise of Superman?
The Rise of Superman. That's the name of the book. And it's
anything that Kotler writes is going to be excellent like that, because he looks at these elite, just freak
like Delta Force guys. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And who are the people that athletes hang out with, right? Who are the people that they love talking to? Let's fly the
police guy, the firefighter, the army guy.
Right.
Yeah.
The extreme guys that understand, that state, and they have a huge common bond. And that's another group of people that I absolutely love working with is, guys that are going in and doing things that none of us can imagine, and that is their norm. And I think a lot of times for them, it's almost more difficult to live in that day in and day out normal life.
Right. Right.
That's the challenge with those guys, is to how can I, turn it off. And it is difficult, but those guys are very interesting because the similarities are striking.
Absolutely. I used to read on, like, even back in the late 60s and 70s, and when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar started training with Bruce Lee, which a lot of people don't know, and he started figuring it out, like, oh my damn. And then that's when you, like, Kareem was already like unstoppable, but that's when you saw his game really start to transition, when he started training with Bruce, and Bruce was taking him to this mental state that was far and beyond anything that anybody could ever fathom. And that's what really changed him, man, and made him a legend that he ended up being.
Wow. This is great stuff right here. And this is exactly, you guys, why we wanted to bring Dr. Shannon on to talk to you. I mean, she's killed it before, but there's so many layers to you guys unlocking success. And then this is war. Some of you guys are going to go down. Some of you guys are going to have injuries. How do you deal with that? How do you bounce back? So thank you, Dr. Shannon. We've got her for a couple more minutes here, you guys. Then we're going to let her go. So if you have a question, get ready because that time is coming up. But before that, we're going to get into the lightning round, you guys. So we are excited to take Dr. Shannon through the lightning round. And this is our opportunity, if you guys are joining us for the first time, of a little word association where she's got 60 seconds, y'all, to give us the first thing that comes to her mind. You see, she's smart and quick-witted, so she's probably going to kill this, but she's got 60 seconds to give us the first thing that comes to her mind. So let's get after it. And it is the lightning round, you guys. So you ready, Doc?
I'm ready.
All right. We got 60 seconds. I got my list, and we got some people that you may know. We got some either or. So give us the first thing that comes to your mind. Now, this is a special evening, you guys. If you rock with the Locker Room Show, you know tonight's special because the college football season starts. It starts this weekend, and that's the end of this season of the Locker Room. So we're going to crown who's going to get the dinner. Who's going to get the dinner on the Locker Room Show. So, Doc, this isn't just for fun. You can get the dinner, maybe just for you or your girl, but you can get the dinner on the Locker Room Show. Now, you got to answer 15. You got to at least get to 15, okay?
So it's about speed, right?
It's about
yes.
speed.
Okay,
Don't elaborate. Don't elaborate.
Okay.
All right. Now, you guys know she gets one for tech delay, okay? So even 14 puts her in the mix with Evan, the agent, and the great Jacob Jesus, who tied at 15. So I've got her at 0, and we are about to rock and roll. All right, the lightning round. First thing that comes to your mind, Doc. All right, number 1. First thing that comes to your mind. Aaron Donald, go.
Tall.
Fried chicken or baked chicken?
Oh, fried chicken.
Cancun or Miami?
Miami.
Favorite place to sing by yourself?
To sing by myself?
Yes.
Shower.
Kiss a frog or kiss a camel?
Camel.
Miles Garrett.
Sweet.
The best meal you can personally cook?
Chicken pot pie.
Favorite superhero growing up?
Oh. He-Man?
The NFL. 50 seconds.
Not for long.
Tom Brady or Pat Mahomes?
Patrick.
Travis Kelce.
Interesting.
Time. Okay.
That was politically correct. She thought about that. We're like, nah.
And then one for the road. You going Indian food or Chinese food?
Indian food or Chinese. But my son's starting to cook, so he got some mean butter chicken, which is an Indian dish.
Oh, nice.
He cooked the heck out of that. So my little USC engineer student,
nice.
He got into cooking when he came home for the summer, and we enjoyed it.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Might be a couple little young ladies listening. USC engineer that can cook on the
That's right.
loose.
I don't know about the cleanup, but the cooking's good.
I got it. So, hey, Dr. Shannon did great, you guys. Let's add them up and revisit as we always do. 15 is the number, but 14 gets her in the mix for the dinner. So let's add them up. All right. Number 1 was Erin Donald. She says tall. Number 2, fried chicken or baked chicken. She says, give me the fried chicken. Number 3, Cancun or Miami. She had to think. She says Miami. Number 4, favorite place to sing by yourself. She says the shower. Number 5, kiss a frog or kiss a camel. She said, give me the camel. Number 6, Miles Garrett. She says sweet. Number 7, the best meal you can cook personally. She says chicken pot pie. Number 8, her favorite superhero growing up, little stump there. She says He-Man. I remember He-Man. Number 9, the NFL. She says not for long. Number 10, Tom Brady or Pat Mahomes. She says give me young buck, Pat Mahomes. Number 11, Travis Kelce. She says interesting. So with the tech delay, you guys, she's got 12. And she did a great job. I think it was the childhood hero, and I think it was the camel. I think those two started
think
out
about
a
that
bit.
myself.
Yeah, I mean, neither was an answer.
Ew on
right?
both accounts. Ew.
Right. And I will
Ew,
say
brother.
my Aaron Donald comment, I always think tall because that was our little joke. You know, sometimes you have to jump on the table and fight for the picks that you want. And he's one of those guys that doesn't check all the boxes that the, you know, cybermetrics nerds wanted to check. And I just had to say, he plays tall. He plays tall. He's not tall.
Yeah,
he's not
plays tall, strong,
no, he plays tall. And so every time I would, you know, even standing next to each other in a picture, I'd always stand up on my toes and I'd be, how tall is he? I'm standing on my toes right there. How tall am I? He always would say, you know, did I play tall? Did I play tall? So, you know, it's not always the numbers. It's something else.
Yeah.
It's that mindset. It's that mindset.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen, this just came to me, Doc. Have you ever seen an athlete have it and lose it and get it back? You know, that killer mindset? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And you know, many times when that like the yips, right? The yips are everybody gets so, you know, clustered about the yips. And I somehow got, I don't know, somebody called me a yip specialist because I don't think it's that big of a deal, right? You know, if you could do it before, you can do it again. And my dictum is always saying, when you get back to it, it's sweeter than it was before. Because when you lose it, it's terrifying for an athlete. They are really terrified when they feel like they've lost it. And it's always mental, right? You can lose a step physically, and, you know, we can comprehend that. We can cope with that. But when you had that thing, and then it goes and you can't get it back, that is very scary. And that's when, you know, a lot of times I will get guys that are at their worst. And to me, when you're at your lowest, when you're at your worst, it's exciting because what do you got to lose? Nothing. It's hard to get a guy who is literally the best in the world and tell them, I think I got some things that could make you better. They're looking at me like, lady, I'm legitimately the best in the world. Like, what do you got for me? There is a lot more buy-in when somebody has lost something that they cherish and they can't find their way back. And so for me, you know, if you've had it, it's not gone. Let's just deal with the bump in the road, and let's not make the bump in the road bigger than what it is. It could be that monster under the bed that I think when people see somebody that got the yips and they just stay away from them like it's a disease that's catching, then it tends to snowball real quick. Yeah. And so it's better to let's just grab that sucker and deal with it and not live scared.
Yeah, I sent you a video today, a YouTube, and the guy who I want you to listen to talked about, he was the one who was in charge of the Oscars when Will Smith did the
Yeah.
And he was talking about in that moment, really like, oh, shoot, this is really going down.
Yeah.
But what can I control? What can I personally, I can't do anything about that, but what can I personally control? So that's big right there. All right, you guys, we are to the last section of the show. And if you're with us live, feel free to, the comment section is open. We're going to let Dr. Erin Shannon get some rest because she's on a different time zone. But Q, I know you got a great question for Doc.
Absolutely. So Doc, I guess, since even, me and T's era of playing, so much has changed.
Yeah.
What do you feel like at this point in time the mental state is of these high school and college kids with these significant NIL deals? And what I mean by that a step further is when we were playing, it was okay. Maybe our families were looking like, hey, we got to get to the league, to help our family, A, B, and C. But at least we were in our 20s, early 20s. These kids now, I'm 12 and I got an offer from Nebraska. So people are expecting that of me at 16 now.
That's
I'm
right.
a junior in high school, but the expectations are the same.
That's right. The expectations, the inhuman and asinine expectations are the same. And the fact that we don't have extra layers of support systems around these kids and these families is a recipe for disaster. I am all for athletes getting paid, and athletes don't get paid outrageous sums for no reason. They get paid because they make that money for people. They make way more than that money for people. It is a massive industry. So I'm all for that. But there are some things that human beings just can't comprehend and prepare for. And think about, when you were that age. I mean, come on. These kids not only have the pressure of everything I do and say, and everything that I have ever done and said in my lifetime is probably recorded somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And there's ways to get access to all of that. So there's no margin for mistakes or errors or saying something stupid because you're a kid.
Yeah.
So you've got all of that pressure. And then you've got generational wealth that's coming on top of that.
Yeah.
I mean, could you take matches and throw them in? It's just, to me, a bit of a disaster waiting to happen, and we really should yesterday get the things in order that can support these kids and their families, because no one should have to trip up on that kind of stuff. It's wonderful to have, but you got to have the resources around to support it, and I think that's lacking.
Let me ask you this before you go, Doc, or Q. Go ahead, Q.
No, what I was just about to say, man. I mean, because it's like kids are getting offers so much earlier. Matter of fact, I got a friend of mine that's down here in Houston, and he was coaching over at East St. Louis, which obviously they've been cranking out, killers for forever. And it's, his son started getting, at 7th or 8th grade. Well, that's the thing. It's, it's almost like, these parents are looking like, well, Tommy, he he started getting offers at 6th, 7th, 8th grade. So as you said earlier in the show, now you're sitting down, and even though you're working with pros, you got people that want to put 8, 9, 10-year-old kids in front of you because they're expecting, well, by the time they're 15 or 16, I want a new house. And these expectations are real. I was just reading, it was last season. I forgot the kid's name. He's a D tackle at Florida. He was a freshman, and he got his mama house, and that's great. But as you start digging deeper, these are these parents' expectations. They expect that, man, and when you're an upperclassman in high school and in NILs and play, or you're in college, they're putting that type of pressure on these kids, and some of these kids are playing ball, and because as you've heard me say, if you've been playing since you've been 6, you look up and you're 19. Well, I've been playing in sport for 13 years. I'm burned out. I don't even want to ball anymore. I'm
100%.
done. But I got my uncles and my mom and my dad, and everybody's got bills due, and this and that and the third. And it's like, I'm a sophomore at, at Notre Dame or wherever, but it's like, damn, man, like when do people realize, man, that these are kids? And I have no idea how these kids deal with that type of pressure, because everyone wants that big NIL deal, but they forget what comes along with it.
What comes with it.
What comes with it.
And I, it's a real phenomena with grown men that have been in the league. When they get that big paycheck, that next season, they will call the shrinks in, because there is a real thing that happens when you get paid an amount of money that in your brain you can't correlate with something that you can actually do, right? Like, who deserves $50 million for what? Doing something that you were doing for free last week, right?
Yeah. Well, you got like a Brock Purdy who made $2 million his first 3 years, but now he makes $2 million a game. And it's like, I am your cousin, I am your brother, I'm your dad. I held you down when you were Mr. Irrelevant. Now you got it, right? You got it. So can I get a little something? So there's a lot that comes with it. Let me ask you this, Doc, because there is an element to you, before I let you go, that we haven't talked about that much, and it's being a mother. You have, is it 7, 8?
Six kids. Yeah.
Me and my wife were going back and forth. Is it 7 or 8? It's only 6.
Some days it feels like 7, 8, 9.
So, but let me ask you, because you got some amazing kids, and obviously there's a lot of balls in the air that you're juggling as a mom and a professional. If one of these beautiful kids came to you and said, hey, Nike wants to give me a deal, or my school wants to give me a deal for $1 million a year, is that a red flag? Think about your kids in particular. Is that a red flag for maybe 3 of them and not the other 3? Is that a red flag for all of them? Is it cool? We'll figure it out. How are you feeling as a mom? One of your daughters or sons calls you up and says, hey, I got a deal. This is real money, Mom.
Yeah. I think growing up the way I did and seeing the real side of what it's like day in and day out, in a family, I certainly never wanted my kids to be professional athletes, and they all knew that. I have 1 boy and I have 5 girls, and now girls' sports are very legitimately a way to become a multimillionaire. It's very different than when I was in school, but for me, if it's in you, I couldn't stop you from doing it, right? But it is not an easy life. And as a mom, I want my kids, first and foremost, I want them to be happy. And I want them to do, something that lights them up. And it's up to them to find what that is. But I certainly think that my kids were able to see the entire picture of being, in that kind of a job. Not only that kind of a job, but, the other clientele that I tend to see, musicians and actors, and the pressure at these positions that we, glorify looking at, does it make you happy? So, for me, it was always just important that my kids find what lights them up from the inside, and you will have everything you need if you can find that and actually make that your career. So, I didn't let my kids play a lot of sports. I didn't let them play certain sports that I was afraid of their brain. I was afraid of, I'm definitely not the mom that, is trying to get my kid signed up for this and that. I wanted them to be happy and enjoy being kids. Money's great, but fame is a dry snitch. Fame is not so great.
Yeah. So you're saying you would be more concerned if you or your antennas would be up a little bit more if one of your children was actually getting famous as opposed to them just making a lot of money.
I think money is great. Money is something that you can use to help people. It's security. It's a lot of things. Fame is a beast, man. And nowadays, especially, you just have talk about trying to find an identity, right? Yeah. Because no matter what your job is, you've got a persona that is your professional persona. But nowadays, you're expected to have that on all the time. And if you don't, then it's used against you. And that is just a miserable, way to be. So I think that the key to being happy is to be authentic and not have a mask that you have to wear. We all have different, personas that we put on and off, but you need to be able to be yourself as authentically as possible. Then you have freedom. And if fame comes with that, then, it's kind of take it or leave it, right? But I think that growing up seeing that there's certainly a downside to that upside, I made sure that my kids very clearly saw that as well.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
Well, hey, you guys, obviously you saw why we wanted to bring this woman on tonight. I know many of you guys, it was just too much to even take in. So run this show back. But if you didn't know before tonight, you guys, there is a clear case of the top athletes having things right on the mental, moral, and social side. And this is the woman that they go see. So thank you so much, Dr. Shannon, for coming in tonight. Where should people reach out if they want more content? They want maybe your services. Where should people reach out?
Yeah, sure. My website is just my name. So www.Erin, Erin, Shannon.com. And Q, when you're in town, come by. I'll make you pot pie.
Got to.
Come over for a plate.
Hey, long as I get that in some emos, I'm happy and I'm out.
All right. Oh, no problem. We'll get emos for an appetizer.
For sure. I got to get some raviolis in my life.
That's right.
There you go. So, hey, this is the St. Louis crew. So they're loving on each other. But, Doc, thank you. Have a great evening, and we appreciate you again. All right, you guys. So, hey, that is the great Dr. Erin Shannon, you guys. I mean, she kills it every time she comes on, Q. And now I see why guys really feed into her.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Make sure they go see her.
Absolutely.
When you were playing, did you ever even think or fathom that the mental side was such a huge piece? Or was you just like, hey, I'm a baller, I'm going to go ball?
I'm a baller, I'm going to go ball because at that era, man, and I'm sure you can agree, sports, it's almost like if you would have went, if you in that era would have gone that route, I'm seeing a sports psychologist, you would have been so concerned about being labeled mentally weak that you wouldn't have even engaged with it. And not understanding how important that is.
I agree with you, but let me ask you this. If you are an All-American and you say, I'm going to see a sports psychologist, does that change it up any?
Then you set a trend.
Okay. So you're talking about basically part of the reason why this has been a slower trend is because the superstars haven't been out front saying that I'm going to see a sports psychologist.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the whole key.
Because it was looked at as a negative.
Yes. Okay. Absolutely.
Like, oh man, you on the way out.
You're right. Like, exactly.
All right. Well, before we let you guys go, because like we said, this is a major weekend since we are kicking off the college football 2025 season. We thought we would just do a real quick record projection. So, Q, I'm going to let you take KU. I'm going to take CU. You see the schedule in front of you. Your team hits the field before mine. You guys are hitting the field this Saturday versus Fresno. We're hitting it next week versus GT. What's it looking like, Q? What the Jayhawks got this season?
Man, I'm
I
gonna
know
tell
you
you
got
what.
300 million, but what you got on
Yeah.
the rest?
Yeah, we got $300 million, Lord Jesus, and a brand new $72 million stadium. Beautiful. Got to go check that out. The booth. Y'all go check it out, man. Lawrence, Kansas, man. Beautiful, beautiful stadium. I got us going about 8-4, man. I think we should have had we should have had so much more successful season last year.
Okay.
A lot of this season is riding on Jalen Daniels, and that is understood. If he shows up and can give us a glimpse of what he was earlier in his career, this will be a hell of a season. Absolutely, it'll. So I got
weapons around him.
He got some weapons, man. They got Highshaw coming back. At running back, that's a horse. And we got a good defense. We got a lot of good, solid kids out the transfer.
Who's the 4 losses? You said 8-4.
The four possibilities, man, is Mizzou is going to be a tough game, and it's in Columbia, right? And that's an old school. Obviously, Mizzou now for some number of years has been in the SEC, but that's an old school Big 12, even an old Big 8. That's an old rivalry, but it's in Columbia. That's going to be a tough game. So that's 50-50. We'll just have to see. You just got to show up, ball out, and let it rip. K-State is going to be tough. And then I think we have no, we actually, you know what? We don't have Arizona State. So I would actually say Mizzou. I would say Mizzou, that Texas Tech game, and K-State would be
The Texas Tech game is after UCF, and you got to go to Florida, which is
so
weird.
That's the stretch. That's when you start getting into the stretch. And then man, you got teams like Arizona, and Iowa State that are solid. Maybe people consider middle of the road, but see, that's one thing I always like about the Big 12 versus the SEC. I know people like the SEC, this and that and the other, but the Big 12 now going all the way back, even when we played, the what I call the real Big 12, anybody could beat anybody. The SEC has always been an extremely, especially in years past, it's an extremely top-heavy conference. The Big 12.
The thing is since we played, you look at a schedule differently maybe than the average Joe. The average Joe would look at a schedule and say, oh, that's not that hard, because they're looking at the individual teams. But when you've played, that there's stretches and there's back-to-backs that aren't favorable, like the UCF, Texas Tech, and then we have to play our rival. That's not ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. But what it's that, but it's also, even if you look at rankings, because people look like the Big 10 and the Big 12. I mean, the Big 10 and SEC, both of those obviously have a ton of top 10 teams, top 10 maybe 15 teams, a ton of blue blood schools, what have you, like yada yada. Yeah. But both of those conferences are extremely top heavy. If you look at the Big 10, it's Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, and then you got SEC. Like Tennessee isn't what they were in years past. So it's mainly, you got Florida, you got Bama, you got Georgia, right? You got, and it's LSU, and then it's the Big 12. Cincinnati can beat Arizona State. Arizona State may have losing Cincinnati, and that's their only loss, and end up going to the Big 12 championship, because you have those teams that are maybe what someone call middle of the road, or like that. Usually there are a lot of Big 12 rankings preseason or from like 18 to 25 out of the top 25. But it's really the gauntlet from week to week, because they're so evenly matched. There's no overpowering teams in the Big 12 where it's top heavy. You just got to show up and ball. And that's what I still love about the Big 12. You don't know what the hell is going to happen week to week.
That's a good point. So you've got your Jayhawks going 8-4, and we've got the great Coach Fall saying who's got the better record, the Jayhawks or the Buffs. So let's see here. Looking at the Buff side, man, I don't think we have a stretch as bad as that 3-game stretch for you, because that's a little weird. It looks like they've got home, away, on the Buff side. I think that BYU, TCU, Iowa State.
That's a bit of a stretch, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Utah is going to be as good as they have been in the past, but I think they're going to beat Georgia Tech, man. I think they're going to beat Georgia Tech at home. I don't know. It's probably going to be close, within 2 to 4 points.
Well,
but I think they're going to beat Georgia Tech. So if they beat Georgia Tech, it's very, very well strong that they could
pick up some momentum. Yeah,
going into you.
Well, see, now wait a minute, T, because I'm looking at this schedule now. Here's the difference. Ours is smack dab in the middle of the season. Now I will say this, folks. If you look at Kansas's schedule, I'd rather have a tough stretch in the middle than at the end. West Virginia's not ranked, but West Virginia can always be a problem.
Well, and you have to go there.
Right.
That's not a good stretch at the end.
And then got Arizona State and K-State. So you all got a 3-game stretch, but it's at the end of the season. Now we're looking at who the hell's healthy.
No, that's true. But luckily, it looks like if you go West Virginia, that's on the 8th. The Arizona State game's at home on the 22nd. So there's a bye.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Where you could heal up. It looks like you guys are like, oh, well, you have a bye between Tech and K-State.
Yeah. But but again, though, it's one of those things where, and I mean, like I said, our schedule's so because that's the thing about too, folks, when you're looking at a schedule, football is so interesting because you can either gain momentum from that bye or you can lose a ton of momentum from that bye. Am I lying, T? You can. I've seen teams go on a 7-0 stretch, hit that bye week, and lose 4 in a row and cannot get the mojo back, right? Or I've seen teams, same thing, go on, might be 2 and 3, and come off that bye smoking and hit 5 games straight.
We had a bye after getting beat 41-7 by Texas, go on a run the rest of the season and end up beating them in the Big 12 championship.
My point exactly.
Our bye came after a bubble.
Yeah, and your boys pull themselves together after that bye, man. I'm telling you, man. So yeah, it really, man. That's the interesting thing about football is, man. It's strength of schedule, but when you start breaking down the schedule, it's how many, 3-game stretches, 4-game stretches. Where's the bye? And again, like I said, it's always about, man, who can stay healthy, man. That's
so to answer your question, Coach Falls, and please don't take this as a cop-out, but I think we got a tie because I had an 8-4 season going too.
Yeah,
I think they may lose to BYU, they may lose to Iowa State, and then either
maybe Arizona State. Yeah.
One of those two, those at the end, they probably gonna take 1 or 2. So I had them around 8-4 as well, which is a strong season. Season.
Now the only thing about you guys, T, and this is always a good dilemma, but you guys are gonna have to pick a quarterback after a while. We can't do this.
Oh,
you're gonna have to pick a guy.
They did.
So you guys are locked in now because I know it was a hell of a battle.
It's gonna be the kid from Liberty, Salter.
Okay.
He's they absolutely love Julian Lewis, but there's still some catching up to do. He's solid number 2. Lewis is, and I like their 3. Schaub, who was number 2 to Shedeur last year. They just both of them leapfrogged him. But it's going to be Salter, which is right. I think he's the OG, and he's played college football. You start with the OG.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's gonna be awesome,
It's
man. And
here,
definitely,
baby.
man, best of luck, y'all bust, man, up in Boulder, man. But it's gonna be a hell
Likewise.
of a season, boy. Yeah, I
Yes,
can't wait.
indeed.
It's gonna be a hell of a season. Top to
Yes,
bottom,
indeed.
all conferences. It's on. It's on,
It
man.
all kicks off, you guys, this weekend. So, hey, a lot of you guys are strapping it up as well. We had some athletes play tonight. We got athletes playing tomorrow, this weekend. There's guys trying to make NFL rosters preseason. So it is here. Football, the offseason's gone. It is gone.
In the
Football is
books.
here. It's time, and you guys can count on being able to rock with the Locker Room Show every Thursday. We went a little longer tonight, actually a lot longer, but it was all for you. So hopefully you guys got some value. Guru, anything for the people before we get out?
Hey, support your guys, man, you communities, man, especially with you public schools. Man, support, man, and rally around your kids, man. Definitely, they're gonna need you. It's gonna be a long heck of a season, but it's gonna be fun too. Every season, man, brings memories and awesome freaking plays, man. You know, and that mentally, that you remember those plays, definitely. So, yeah, be tuning in. We'll be bringing you some awesome guests, man. We'll see y'all next week.
Yes, indeed. And make sure,
You
please,
hit that
please,
button.
you like, subscribe, and share. Make sure that all your friends, your coaches, your parents, anybody that loves football wants to know more about this industry, make sure you share it with them. So, hey, that's Guru. I'm Coach Wood. We appreciate you rocking with us. We'll see you at the top. You guys have a good one.